For the final legendary banner of the year, we got a pretty good curveball thrown at us. Today we'll be going over the banner units and talk about what skills are available. We'll also talk about our new legendary hero. As a reminder, this banner lasts until the January seasonal banner starts. That means we'll see the New Year's and January seasonal banner lineups, plus there are multiple Tempest trials that will be happening. So much going on. Because Fire Emblem Engage comes out next month, kind of feels like the devs were pushing to release Legendary Shez first. Clearly this has been planned for a while since the 3-Ups banner only came in September. Back then Female Shez got to dual wield, but in game he didn't actually have Arvel's sword despite getting it in the artwork. Both Shez's artwork also had them awakening for style points. I said it back then, but basically if they didn't put Arvel's sword in game, I could easily see a future Shez ult having the actual weapon represented. That's going to be the case for Legendary Shez, and they are in their promoted Asura class outfit. It's also Female Shez this time who gets to dual wield. However, instead of being a sword unit, the devs got a bit creative, and Shez is going to be a dagger unit. To make it more confusing, they're a blue dagger unit. It's not a major gameplay aspect in 3 Hopes, but Shez does throw their swords as part of their attack combos, and they rematerialize in their hands. Arvel's blade is the only one that's supposed to materialize out of thin air, but whatever, rule of cool, and it's a warrior's game. In Fae, Legendary Female Shez will be a blue dagger infantry unit and is a fire legendary parahero that boosts speed. Speed is very important for Shez herself. This Asura outfit is so sick, and the awakening animations for the finisher, top tier stuff as well. For old skills, Shez brings Glimmer and attack and speed oath 4. The 5-star regular male Shez and Mythic Arvel also had oath 4C skills. I think it's supposed to be a light reference to their ability to warp around the battlefield. They're going to be daggers, but the Asura blades will represent Arvel's sword in game. They have 8 might, grant a flat +5 speed. It's a dual phase brave weapon, and Shez neutralizes any and all stat debuffs on her. If she outspeeds the enemy, she also gets breath type special cooldown, which is what the base Shez's can do as well. These are similar to the 5-star male Shez, but instead of damage reduction and defensive penalties, Legendary Female Shez just neutralizes debuffs. Relatively speaking, super simple weapon. However, the only other brave daggers I believe are on the 2 ninja units, and this Shez can honestly be an honorary ninja unit too. Where things get really wacky is Shez's A skill, Swift Slice. This is their personal combat art in 3 Hopes. If Shez initiates and is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets +8 to all stats. For the next part, I think it's easier to understand if you read the last section first. If Shez initiates and has 5 more speed than the enemy, she gets effectiveness against all weapon types. Oh my. There are exceptions though, and that's what the first section covers. If Shez initiates against human infantry foes, her speed check now becomes a staggering 20 or more. That is a huge speed check, especially nowadays. So Slice is honestly a bit of a crazy skill, and you could even apply the effectiveness against all weapon types to a different weapon if you wanted. I think Asura Blades is pretty good though. As an example, let's use Byleth and Sothis. Byleth's regular classes are mostly infantry sword or tome. To get the 1.5 times attack multiplier for effectiveness, Shez needs to outspeed Byleth by 20 or more. As for regular Sothis, she's an infantry dragon. That means Shez only needs to outspeed by 5 or more, and that is very doable. This applies to beast infantry and then all armored, cavalry, and flying units too. That means most unit types are going to take free bonus damage, and guess what? Stupid Brave Hector and Ascended Dune can't ignore this multiplier this time because Shez gets effectiveness against weapon types, lances and dragons included. However, because of this distinction, Shez actually does not get the multiplier into Sothis. This is because Sothis negates dragon effectiveness. Dragon is a weapon type in Fae, not a movement type, so you can practically hear Arvel's face palming in the distance. I'm not sure if this was an intentional detail, but it is pretty funny regardless. Next up, for a new inheritable skill, Shez brings Seal Speed 4. She really could have been on this year's Ninja banner. As a refresher, Seal 4 B skills are not that bad now. This always inflicts -4 speed in combat. If the foe does not neutralize speed penalties, then inflict more in combat speed debuffs equal to 7 minus the current debuff on the foe's speed. If the foe does have a speed debuff active, inflict guard on them. Last, after combat, inflict -7 speed debuffs on that enemy. The biggest thing to understand about these skills is that no matter what, it tries to always inflict -11 speed on the target. If they already have a -6 speed debuff, Seal Speed 4 only inflicts -5 in combat for a total of -11. However, as a reward for already debuffing the enemy beforehand, you're going to get guard, and this is one of the few ways to get offensive guard on some units. While Shez would love seal defense like the Wyvern Ninjas for just more damage, for obvious reasons, she comes with seal speed 4 to try and win her 20 speed check against human infantry. Minus 11 speed helps a lot, and with her full base kit, you get plus 5 from her weapon, plus 8 from her A skill, and then attack and speed oath 4 can grant 9 total. This comes out to plus 22 speed, minus 11 speed deals, and overall it's a 33 speed difference. Wow. Like Arvel, Legendary Shez is bringing some really funky mechanics with her. We really got effective against all weapon types as an effect, and here I was thinking young Shia's sword was crazy. In terms of stats, I expect no less than 40 plus attack and speed for Shez. While her A skills plus 8 to all stats may seem wild, it's not really that crazy compared to Flame Lyn, who not only gets a full 16 might, but also gets plus 5 to all stats via her weapon. Lyn's A skill can then max out at plus 12 to all stats for a total of plus 17. Jesus. Some things to note, Dope Phase Brave Dagger that has extra cooldown and lots of speed seems pretty dang fun for speed preempt. Brave Byleth is even on this banner. However, Swift Slice's effective damage only works on the player phase. It can still work to hit twice and pop a special like Dual Myrrh, but you won't get free bonus damage. Another thing to take note of, Shez has very little enemy phase power, no damage reduction like her base forms, and no close counter advantage cheese like Ninja Camilla. She also has no way to pierce damage reduction without lethality, and that's on a full 4 cooldown. She can't easily charge it up like Vogue, but you could use Times Pulse and Infantry Pulse. Maybe a slot in a Tempo skill as well, but then you're going to get no extra speed from Seal Speed. To be honest, depending on how much base speed Shez has, you could run Special Spiral 4 that solves her DR piercing issue, and it works with 2 cooldown specials, so you can use something like Ruptured Sky. Overall, very interesting unit who actually runs off some very simple mechanics. Full effectiveness with a dual phase Brave Dagger ain't a normal sight though. I'm interested to see how Legendary Shez turns out. Now maybe if the Black Knight didn't kick down my door and steal all my orbs, I would have tried to get Shez. However, I think I have to pass this time. It's a shame because this is a solid Baron to end the year on. In red we have Legendary Lilina, Legendary Sigurd, and Brave Seliph. Blue has Legendary Shez, Legendary Myrrh, Brave Chrom. Green has Mythic Seidr, Legendary Ninian, and Brave Tiki. Colorless then has Medeus, Legendary Claude, and Brave Byleth. Choose Your Legends 6 winners make their return. For red, let's start with Legendary Lilina. High attack and res mage camp who has your own unique 2 cooldown area effect special. It's weaker than the other ones, but Lilina can recharge it after every fight, and she pre-charges it turn 1. Studied 4 Blaze also has Hardy Bearing built in, with all the Vantage units making a return, definitely worth keeping in mind. For fodder, Lilina prefers the kit of her bridal ult. Attack and Res Solo 4 is fine, but Stillwater is a new go-to for her. Pulse Smoke is good for handling specials, and Sabotage Res is nice for debuffing, but it's on some free units. Up next is Legendary Sigurd, a Sword Cavalier who has permaform movement thanks to Holy Knight Aura. Sigurd's main go is to proc Holy Knight Aura, which then grants his whole team +1 movement. He's okay in combat too with a free follow-up attack and some bonus stats. Sigurd gets 40% damage reduction when initiating and against ranged attacks, which combos with his Crusader's Ward for more range damage reduction. For skills, you got attack and defense for catch, still solid. You can grab Fatal Smoke at the same time since a couple heroic Grail units have the tier 3 catch. Sigurd's a great unit, but like Flame Lyn, he most likely will be the winner of his group for the A Hero Rises Engage Cup. That means you can pick a free Legendary Sigurd if you want, and he'll be on another banner assuming he wins. That said, if you want merges, you can spark this banner, you can pick the free Sigurd copy, and then the Engage Cup banner could be sparkable as well. Last up is Brave Seliph, who has been a great Sword Cavalier just like his legendary dad. Seliph is super easy to use as an offensive unit. He gets 4 movement 2 with +6 attack and speed and no follow-up. His Turfing comes with Kanto 2, accelerated specials, +5 to all stats, and true damage based on the foe's defense, scaling with how many spaces Seliph move to attack, up to 40% defense. He then gets a miracle effect, so Seliph can recklessly charge in. He's a very good unit. For skills, you got the still rarish attack and speed clash 4 and low speed defense 3. Pretty good red group. All 3 of these guys are potent cavaliers. Moving on to the blue group, we already talked about Legendary Shez. Brand new skill is seal speed 4, so if you need it, you're gonna need Shez. Luckily, it's also easy enough to pick up with attack and speed oath 4 at the same time. You can use Host or Ninja Shamir to get the prereqs, and seal speed 3 is on 4-star variant. Next up is Legendary Myrrh, a blue flying dragon. This Myrrh is quite solid all around. She accelerates specials, inflicts -5 to all stats, she gets a free follow-up attack, and 30% DR at all times. Myrrh's C skill gives herself +6 defense and res, follow-up denial, and the Warp Bubble status. If Wings of Mercy or certain assault troop army units are running around too much, Warp Bubble shuts that down. For skills, Myrrh has Dragon Wall to stack more damage reduction and Defense Res Unity to deal with debuffs. You can pass both of those to a fellow dragon by using Winter Jafar. Easy to use unit, very fun with the DC Sacred Seal. Last up is Brave Chrom, a Lance Cavalier with high attack and speed. Chrom's Lance has multiple cooldown perks, 40% damage reduction for one hit, and he can stack stats based on the number effect on Chrom. Chrom can also borrow bonuses from his team with a Fate Changed. By repositioning them, it lets Chrom move again. For example, Chrom can also reposition Legendary Myrrh, and he gets Warp Bubble for himself. For his C-Skill, you're going to get Surge Sparrow and Speed and Defense near Trace 3 for a very solid offensive combo. Chrom also has Infantry Speed Tactic. Since Surge Sparrow only requires Swift Sparrow 2, you can grab 2 full skills from Chrom. Ideally, you're going to want Infantry Speed Tactic on a non-infantry unit, and that's also going to include Kanto. If you're going to be summoning for Shez, not a terrible time to do so. Myrrh may not have the most universal skills, but you can still toss Unity on any tank. Moving on to the green group, this will be Mythic Seidr's first official monthly banner. She's the free book 7 unit, so everyone got her for free. Pretty decent green mage cavalier who has free follow-up attacks and can give the team a follow-up denial status. I tried using Seidr's C-Skill against Emblem and Veronica, and it was an interesting time. The fact it doesn't work every turn definitely makes it a lot harder to use, but it's a very powerful effect to have on hand. For skills, you can still get Stillwater 4 for your legendary Lilina, or you can get the new Chill Attack and Res 3. Next is legendary Ninian, a green cavalry dragon dancer. When dancing an ally, she and the ally emit defensive res debuffs on the nearest foes. On turn 2 onward, Dragon's Dance lets Ninian move again, but it goes on a 3-turn cooldown. Ninian gets some attack and speed with offense and no follow-up and can block counterattacks from blue enemies or just foes with penalties on them. She's more of a secondary attacker that can also stay safe. To up her damage, Ninian has attack and speed catch 4 and speed and res near trace, solid offensive skills. She then has blue feud to further debuff blue enemies. More dancers are never bad, and a dancer being able to refresh themselves is interesting. Last up is Brave Tiki, a green infantry dragon. Tiki is tanky and accelerates specials with a free follow-up attack. She can get -1 cooldown right before she attacks, which lets her fire off Glimmer every single fight. If she has 5 or more res than the enemy, Tiki also adds +1 to the foe special right before they attack. That means she uncharges specials. To become even bulkier, New Divinity inflicts more debuffs. It has Dragon Wall damage reduction and it prevents a follow-up attack. Since Tiki can already ready her special quickly, she procs Attack and Res Finish 4 for the bonus true damage and healing. You then got Defensive Res Menace to buff and debuff. She's a really great unit with some Myrrh skills as well. Green group is honestly pretty good, lots of nice fodder too. Last up, the Colorless group. Mythic Medeus will be a dark mythic and a colorless infantry dragon. Medeus gives nearby allies +6 attack and res and the unguard status, which prevents HP loss outside of combat. He himself inflicts attack and res debuffs, has a follow-up denial effect, and if he wins a res check, you're going to get a free follow-up too. On top of this, you can get up to 60% Dragon Wall DR. You can also hit that cap with 3 nearby healers or dragon allies. For skills, he is still the only unit with Kanto control, and defensive res ideal 4, pretty rare as well. Next is legendary Claude, a colorless flying archer. Claude gets accelerated specials and full no follow-up effects plus Fallen Star grants 80% DR for one hit when initiating. He then gets a status that keeps damage reduction heading into the enemy phase. Solid annoying archer. For skills, you got attack and speed catch 4 and speed and defense rain 3. Can't go wrong with either of those for your offensive flyers. Last up is Brave Byleth, a colorless flying mage. She can give herself the no follow-up status and times pulse each turn when she starts near allies. After combat, Byleth also gets -1 cooldown if her special triggered, and all of this is to play around her Divine Pulse special. Byleth deals 25% of her speed and gets 75% DR for one hit. After it triggers, she also deals 20% of her speed on hit as true damage. Byleth lives and dies by Divine Pulse, similar to Claude's Fallen Star. However, she has Speed Preempt, which is advantage against ranged foes if you win a speed check. Ideally on the enemy phase, if a ranged unit attacked her, Byleth gets advantage. She then triggers the Divine Pulse. This means the 75% DR is ready for the foe's initial attack. Also noteworthy, the 75% DR is counted as a defensive special, so Deadeye and Lethality type effects won't pierce it. For other skills, we got Attack and Speed Catch 4 again, and Speed and Res Hold. Colorless is also a pretty solid group, with CYL 6 filling in. This is a rather decent banner. Personally, I would have loved to summon for Shez because I low-key wanted Myrrh merges. However, Winter BK dropped me back to 0 orbs, so I'm probably going to pass. Maybe if that free summon session has like 4 blue orbs or something, I'll try, but otherwise, I really want to save for Engage. Have fun if you plan to get Legendary Shez, probably our last chance for 3 Hope stuff before Engage just takes over next year, but I'm sure regular 3 Houses cast will still get a banner as usual. As a heads up, I plan to have my annual Christmas video talking about my favorite units from the past year. I did get a hold of some arcane weapons, but never fully showed what I did with them. I did build up some merge projects this year, and I want to lightly talk about future plans for refurbishing really old units, maybe now that arcane weapons are in the game. Before that video comes out, I'm also trying to finish off a really long video for Engage. My brain is hurting, but there's so many fun things to talk about for that game. Don't miss that if you want to catch up on new mechanics, especially if you're not following the Japanese side of things. I really need to finish it before they drop another trailer. That'll be it for now. Good luck summoning on this banner, and see you in the next video.